6 months after the wedding, Zoey Collins had everything she once thought she would never have: freedom, recognition, control over her own life, and love, real, chosen, undeniable. Her name carried weight now, not because of the Whitmores, not because of the Kang family, but because of her work. The gallery lights reflected off her latest collection, bold strokes of color layered with raw emotion. Conversations moved around her, collectors, critics, investors, all speaking about her like she wasn't just present, but established. She's not a one-time success. I heard her next exhibition is already sold out. She's redefining modern expression. Zoey listened without reacting. A glass in her hand, posture relaxed but aware. This was her space. Earned. Built. Not given. Across the room, Dae-hyun stood in quiet conversation with a group of executives. He didn't draw attention, but attention moved toward him anyway. Power didn't need to announce itself. It existed. And tonight they stood in it together. Not as a contract, not as an arrangement, but as a partnership people were beginning to notice. Dae-hyun glanced at her briefly. Not long, not obvious, but enough. Zoey met his gaze. A small, almost unnoticeable nod passed between them. We're fine. We're steady. We're in control. That illusion lasted exactly 3 minutes. Mrs. Kang. The voice came from behind her, smooth, practiced. Zoey turned. A man she didn't recognize stood there, expression polite, eyes calculating. You've built something impressive, he said. Thank you, Zoey replied. He studied her for a second too long. Not everyone manages to transition this quickly. There was something in the way he said it, not admiration, assessment. Zoey's expression didn't change. I don't believe in staying where I'm underestimated, she said. A faint smile touched his lips. Yes, he said. That's what makes you interesting. Before she could respond, he added, You should be careful who benefits from that. And then he walked away. Just like that. No introduction, no explanation. Zoey watched him go, something in her chest tightening. Not fear. Recognition, not of him, but of the feeling. This wasn't random. Who was that? Dae-hyun asked quietly, appearing beside her. I don't know, Zoey said, but he knew exactly who I was. Dae-hyun's gaze followed the direction the man had gone. His expression shifted slightly. That's not a good sign. Zoey exhaled. I figured. The article dropped before the night ended, not subtle, not controlled, strategic. Rising artist Zoey Collins, success or strategic marriage advantage. The words spread fast, too fast, screens lit up across the room, whispers followed immediately. She married into the Kang family. That explains the exposure. So it wasn't organic? Zoey didn't move, didn't react, but she heard everything, every word, every assumption. Dae-hyun took a step forward, but Zoey's hand stopped him. No, she said quietly. He looked at her. I handle this. She didn't leave the room, didn't hide, didn't retreat. Instead, she turned, faced them, all of them. If anyone here believes I'm standing where I am because of my marriage, Zoey said, her voice calm but clear, you're free to test that assumption. Silence fell instantly. If you think my work doesn't hold value, don't buy it. A pause. Let it fail. No anger, no defensiveness, just certainty. And if it doesn't, she added, then at least be honest about why that bothers you. No one spoke, because there was nothing to say. Later that night, the consequences began, not loudly, quietly, which made it worse. 2 gallery partnerships paused, 1 investor pulled out. A scheduled feature was suddenly under review. Zoey stood in the studio, staring at the notifications. Not shocked, not surprised, just aware. This is coordinated, she said. Dae-hyun didn't disagree. Yes, she turned to him. Your world? A pause. Then, part of it. That was enough. Then we don't react, Zoey said. Dae-hyun raised a brow slightly. We respond. The next morning she released a statement. Not defensive, not emotional, precise. Her work, her process, her independence. No mention of the article, no mention of the accusations. Just proof, clear, unshakable. By afternoon, the narrative shifted. Not completely, but enough. She addressed it without addressing it. That's confident. Or calculated? Zoey didn't care which one they believed, because it meant one thing: they were watching, but not all attention was neutral. That evening, Dae-hyun's phone rang. He answered, listened, didn't speak for a moment. Then, "I'll handle it." He ended the call. Zoey watched him. That didn't sound like business. It wasn't. A pause. "The board?" He nodded. "They're questioning my judgment." Zoey exhaled slowly. "Because of me. Because I made a decision they didn't control." That was worse. "And your family?" she asked. Dae-hyun didn't answer immediately. Then, "My brother is using this." Zoey's eyes sharpened slightly. "How?" "He's positioning it as weakness." Silence settled between them. Not fragile, not uncertain. Real. "So this is what it looks like," Zoey said. "What?" "Power," she replied. "Not having it, controlling it, protecting it, fighting for it." Dae-hyun stepped closer. "This isn't your responsibility." Zoey met his gaze. "It became mine the moment I chose this life." A pause. Then she added, "I don't run from consequences." That night, the final shift came, not through media, not through business, but through something far more personal. A file, delivered without a name, no sender, no explanation, just one thing inside, a photograph, old, faded, but clear enough. Zoey stared at it, a child, standing between two people, unfamiliar, but not entirely. Her breath slowed, because something about it felt wrong, like a memory just out of reach. She turned the photo over. There was writing, simple, direct, unmistakable. "You were never meant to belong to them." Zoey didn't speak, didn't move, because in that moment, she understood something she hadn't before. This wasn't just about reputation, or power, or control. It was about truth. And whatever that truth was, it had already found her. The photograph didn't leave Zoey's mind, not the faces, not the message, but the feeling, familiar, unsettling, like something buried too deep to remember, but too real to ignore. She stood in the studio the next morning, the canvas in front of her untouched. For the first time in weeks, she couldn't paint. Behind her, Dae-hyun adjusted his cufflinks, preparing for a board meeting that neither of them mentioned out loud. "You don't have to come today," he said. Zoey didn't turn. "That's not how this works anymore." A pause, then she added, "If this affects you, it affects me." Dae-hyun studied her quietly, not arguing, but not convinced either. "This isn't your fight," he said. Zoey finally turned. "It became mine when your world decided to question me." Silence, not tense, just real. "Then be prepared," he said. "For what?" "For it to get worse before it gets clear." The Kang boardroom was colder than Zoey expected, not in temperature, in attitude. Eyes followed her the moment she walked in beside Dae-hyun, measured, unwelcoming, curious. His brother was already seated at the far end of the table, relaxed, watching, waiting. "Well," he said casually, "this is new." Zoey didn't react. Dae-hyun didn't acknowledge him. They took their seats. The meeting started immediately. No pleasantries, no distractions, but the tension was obvious. "We need to address the current situation," one of the board members said. Dae-hyun nodded. "Then address it." A glance passed across the table. Then, "The public narrative is shifting," another added, "and it's affecting perception." "Perception of what?" Dae-hyun asked calmly. "Your judgment?" Silence. Clear. Direct. Deliberate. Zoey felt the shift immediately. This wasn't about business. This was about control. His brother leaned forward slightly. "Let's not complicate this," he said. "You made a personal decision. Now it's becoming a professional liability. Zoe's gaze moved to him, sharp, steady. And you've decided that based on headlines? She asked. A faint smile touched his lips. No, he said, based on patterns. Dae-hyun's voice cut in. Say what you mean. Another board member stepped in. We're recommending a temporary step back. Zoe frowned slightly. From what? From visibility, he clarified. Public appearances, joint engagements, anything that reinforces the current narrative. Silence filled the room. Zoe understood immediately. They weren't removing her. They were minimizing her. Dae-hyun didn't hesitate. No. The response was immediate, unfiltered, final. The room shifted. That's not a suggestion, one of them said. It's still not happening, Dae-hyun replied. His brother leaned back, amused. You're choosing this over stability? Dae-hyun didn't look at him. I'm choosing not to validate a weak position. Zoe watched him, carefully, because this wasn't just defense. This was risk. The meeting ended without resolution, which meant one thing. This wasn't over. Outside, the tension followed them. You didn't have to do that, Zoe said once they were alone. Yes, I did. You could have managed it differently. I don't manage pressure by submitting to it. Zoe studied him. And what happens when that pressure doesn't back down? Dae-hyun met her gaze. Then neither do I. It should have reassured her. Instead, it unsettled her, not because she doubted him, but because she understood the cost. That cost came faster than expected. By evening, another deal collapsed. Not art, business. A major partnership pulled out of one of Dae-hyun's projects. No explanation, no negotiation, just gone. Zoe didn't need to ask why. This is because of me, she said quietly. Dae-hyun didn't answer immediately. That was enough. I didn't ask you to fight them like that, she said. I didn't need you to. That's not the point. Then what is? Zoe's voice tightened. The point is, I don't want to become something you have to defend. Silence. Heavy. Real. Dae-hyun stepped closer. You're not a liability. That's not how they see it. That's not how I see it. That's not the only perspective that matters, Zoe said. The words lingered, because they were true, and neither of them could ignore that. Later that night, the silence between them wasn't comfortable. It wasn't distant, but it wasn't easy either. Zoe sat on the edge of the bed, the photograph in her hands again. Dae-hyun stood near the window, city lights reflecting faintly across his expression. We're not talking about the real issue, Zoe said. He didn't turn. Then say it. She hesitated, not because she didn't know, but because saying it made it real. What if this isn't just about perception, she said. What if there's something about me that actually changes things? Dae-hyun turned now. There isn't. You don't know that. I don't need to. Zoe stood, frustration creeping in. That's not how this works, she said. You don't get to ignore something just because you don't like it. And you don't get to assume the worst because someone planted doubt. That's not doubt, Zoe said. That's evidence. She held up the photograph. Silence. Then, Dae-hyun walked closer, looked at it. Really looked. What do you feel when you see it? He asked. Zoe's voice softened. Like I'm looking at something I should remember. A pause. But I don't. That was the problem, not the past, the absence of it. Her phone buzzed. Both of them froze. Zoe didn't hesitate. She answered. This is getting predictable, she said. A quiet breath came through. You're starting to ask the right questions. Zoe's jaw tightened. Then give me a real answer. A pause, then. You think this is about your identity. Another pause. It's not. Zoe's grip tightened. Then what is it about? The response came calm, measured, certain. It's about what happens when people realize you were never supposed to survive. The call ended. Silence filled the room, heavy, unavoidable. Zoey slowly lowered the phone. Her chest rose and fell, controlled, but not steady. Dae-hyun stepped closer. What did they say? Zoey looked at him, and for the first time, there was no confusion in her expression, only clarity, and something sharper beneath it. "They're not trying to expose me," she said. A pause. "They're trying to erase me." The gallery doors didn't open the next morning. Zoey stood outside, staring at the notice taped neatly across the glass. "Closed until further notice." No explanation, no warning, just closed. She pushed the door anyway. Locked. Her reflection stared back at her, composed, controlled, but her jaw tightened slightly. Behind her, footsteps approached. "I told you not to come alone." Zoey didn't turn. "I wasn't expecting this." Dae-hyun stopped beside her, eyes scanning the building. "Neither were they," he said. "What does that mean?" "It means this wasn't their decision." "Zoey?" She turned. The gallery manager hurried toward them, visibly uneasy. "I was going to call you," he said quickly. "Then start talking," Zoey replied. He hesitated, glancing briefly at Dae-hyun before lowering his voice. "The board pulled funding this morning." Zoey blinked. "That doesn't shut down an entire gallery overnight." "No," he admitted, "but losing 3 major investors at once does." Silence, sharp, immediate. Zoey exhaled slowly. "And they all pulled out. Today." "Yes." Dae-hyun's voice cut in. "Who contacted them?" The manager shook his head. "We don't know, but whatever it was, it worked." Zoey looked back at the locked doors. "So this is how it starts." Dae-hyun didn't respond, because he already knew this wasn't the start. It was escalation. Her phone buzzed. She didn't check it immediately. "Go on," Dae-hyun said. She glanced down. "Unknown number." "Of course," she answered. "You're making a mistake," Zoey said. A quiet laugh came through. "No," the voice replied. "You're finally seeing it." Zoey stepped away slightly. "Shutting down my gallery isn't going to scare me." "It's not meant to." "Then what is?" A pause. Then, isolation. Zoey's grip tightened. "That's not going to work." "We'll see." The line cut. She lowered the phone slowly. "What did they say?" Dae-hyun asked. "They're not targeting my work," she said. "They're cutting everything around it." Dae-hyun nodded once. "Then we don't let it isolate you." "Too late for that." The voice came from behind them. Dae-hyun turned immediately. His brother stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, expression calm. "You move fast," Dae-hyun said. "I move when it's necessary," he replied. Zoey stepped forward. "You had something to do with this." He smiled faintly. "That's a strong accusation." "It's an obvious one." He looked at her now, directly. "You're becoming a liability," he said, "and liabilities get managed." Dae-hyun's voice dropped. "Watch your words." "I am," his brother replied. "You should try it." Silence stretched, tight, controlled. Zoey didn't step back. "You think shutting down my work weakens me?" she asked. "No," he said calmly. "I think removing your influence reveals you." "Reveals what?" He tilted his head slightly. "What you are without it." That hit, not because of what he said, but because of how deliberate it was. Dae-hyun stepped between them. "This ends now." His brother didn't move. "No," he said. "This just started." A pause. Then he added, "You're not being tested because of her." Dae-hyun's eyes sharpened. "You're being tested because you chose her." Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Zoey looked between them. "This isn't about me," she said quietly. "It never was," his brother replied. Another phone buzz. This time, Dae-hyun's. He checked it. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture did. "What?" Zoey asked. He turned the screen toward her. A message, short, direct. "Your records have been flagged for review." Zoey's chest tightened. "That's not random." "No," Dae-hyun said. It's coordinated. His brother glanced at the screen. Efficient, he said. Dae-hyun's voice hardened. You're pushing too far. No, he replied calmly. I'm showing you what happens when control slips. Zoey stepped forward again. You think this changes anything? She asked. It already has. How? He looked at her. Really looked this time. Because now, he said, you don't just have a past you don't understand. A pause. You have a present you can't protect. Silence. Sharp. Cutting. Dae-hyun moved closer. Say what you're trying to say? His brother held his gaze. Step back, he said. From what? From her. The words landed clean, cold, final. Dae-hyun didn't hesitate. No. A faint smile returned. Then you'll lose more than a gallery. Zoey exhaled slowly, because now it was clear. This wasn't pressure. This was removal, piece by piece. Another buzz. Zoey's phone again. She answered immediately. Enough. A pause. Then, you're starting to feel it now. Zoey's voice sharpened. If you have something to say, stop hiding. I'm not hiding, the voice replied. Then show yourself. A quiet breath. Then, I already did. Zoey froze. What? Check the photo. Her hand moved instantly. She pulled it from her bag. Looked again. Closer this time. The two figures beside the child. Not strangers. Not completely. Her breath caught. No, she whispered. Dae-hyun stepped closer. What is it? Zoey didn't look up. They're not random, she said. A pause. They're connected. To who? He asked. Zoey finally looked at him, and for the first time, there was certainty. To you. Silence. Absolute. Dae-hyun's expression didn't change, but something deeper shifted. Explain. Zoey held the photo tighter. I've seen this face before, she said. A pause. Your grandfather. Everything stopped. His brother's expression changed first. Not surprise. Recognition. Dae-hyun turned slowly. You knew. It wasn't a question. His brother didn't deny it. I suspected. That's not good enough. It is when the outcome is the same. Zoey stepped back slightly. Someone connected your family to mine before any of this, she said. Silence. Then, her phone buzzed one last time. She didn't hesitate. She answered, You're finally looking in the right direction. Zoey's voice was steady. Then finish it. A pause. Then, this was never about finding you. Her heart pounded. It was about bringing you back, to where you were always meant to be. Zoey's grip tightened. And now, the voice continued, they know exactly where you are. The car didn't move. Zoey sat still, her phone still in her hand. They know exactly where you are. The words stayed in the air. She turned. Start talking. Dae-hyun didn't avoid it this time. There was an arrangement before you. Zoey's expression tightened. Melissa. Yes. Silence. She was supposed to marry you, Zoey said. Yes. Zoey let out a slow breath. Then why didn't she? A pause, then, because my grandfather refused. That stopped her. What? Dae-hyun's voice stayed calm. There was a meeting. Zoey didn't interrupt this time. My grandfather met with your adoptive parents, he continued, to finalize the alliance. Zoey folded her arms slightly. And? Dae-hyun's gaze shifted forward. Listen. The silence stretched just long enough to make the memory feel heavier. Flashback. The room was formal, quiet, controlled. Robert Whitmore sat across from Kang Dae-hyun's grandfather, Catherine beside him, Melissa seated upright, perfect, prepared. This alliance benefits both families, Robert said. The grandfather's gaze rested on Melissa, not impressed, not convinced. She's been raised for this, Catherine added. Melissa nodded once. I understand the expectations. A pause, then, no, the grandfather said. The room stilled. Catherine's smile tightened. "I beg your pardon?" "She understands how to present," he clarified. "She does not understand how to hold position." Melissa's fingers curled slightly. "That's an unfair assessment," Catherine said. "It's an accurate one." Silence. Robert leaned forward. "This marriage secures influence across both sides. That was the agreement." "It was a proposal," the grandfather corrected. Melissa spoke this time. "I can do what's required." He looked at her, direct, unmoved. "You can perform what's required," he said. That hit. Catherine's tone sharpened. "She is our daughter. She represents everything this family stands for." A pause, then, "What about your other daughter?" the grandfather asked. The room froze. Catherine answered immediately. "She is not suitable." Robert added, "She's not part of this discussion." The grandfather's voice remained calm. "Yet she exists." Silence. "She lacks discipline," Catherine said firmly. "She doesn't understand structure, expectation, or responsibility." Robert nodded. "She's not equipped for this kind of position." The grandfather listened. Then, "You've spent years shaping one," he said, "and dismissing the other." Catherine didn't respond. Melissa's voice cut in. "I'm the one you're here for." He looked at her, still, unchanged. "No," he said. "I'm here for stability." That ended it. Robert's voice lowered. "You're walking away from a finalized agreement." "I'm correcting a flawed one." Catherine's composure cracked slightly. "Then what exactly are you suggesting?" The grandfather stood. "That this alliance will not proceed as planned." Melissa stood abruptly. "You can't just cancel this." "I can," he said, "and I am." Silence. Heavy. Final. The engagement ended there. Present. Zoey stared ahead. She wasn't enough. Dae-hyun didn't soften it. "No." "And that's it?" Zoey asked. "They just replaced her?" A pause. "Yes." Zoey let out a quiet, disbelieving breath. "With me?" "Yes." "They didn't choose you because they believed in you," Dae-hyun added quietly. Zoey's gaze shifted slightly. "Melissa was raised to represent the family," he continued. "You weren't." A pause. "When the arrangement collapsed, they didn't protect her." Zoey's jaw tightened. "They protected the deal." Silence filled the car. The weight of it settled slowly, like something pressing in from all sides. "I didn't even know this was happening," she said. "I know." Her voice tightened. "They didn't tell me anything. They weren't supposed to." Zoey turned sharply. "What does that mean?" Dae-hyun met her gaze. "It means you weren't part of the decision." That landed hard. "I was just the solution," she said. A pause. "Yes." Zoey looked away. Her jaw tightened. The realization didn't come all at once. It settled piece by piece. Every moment from that night at the Whitmore house replayed in her head. The urgency, the pressure, the way no one explained anything. "And you?" she asked. "What about me?" "You said you were forced too." Dae-hyun nodded once. "My grandfather gave me a condition," he said. "Marry within the structure he approves, or lose my position." Zoey frowned. "So you didn't choose this either?" "No." Silence. "Then why agree?" she asked. Dae-hyun didn't hesitate. "Because refusing meant losing everything I built." Zoey held his gaze. "And accepting meant marrying someone you didn't know." "Yes." Another pause. "And when that someone became me?" she asked. Dae-hyun's voice stayed steady. "It was supposed to stay controlled," he said. "Predictable. Temporary." A pause. But it didn't. Zoey didn't speak, because neither of us followed what they planned. Nothing changed about the condition. That truth sat between them, raw, unfiltered. Zoey exhaled slowly. "So let me get this straight," she said. "Melissa failed to meet his expectations." "Yes." "Your grandfather canceled the engagement." "Yes." "My adoptive parents panicked." "Yes." "And they pushed me in to save the deal." Dae-hyun didn't interrupt. "Yes." Silence. Then, Zoey laughed. Not loudly, not emotionally, just once. "I wasn't chosen," she said. "No. I was convenient." A pause. "Yes." Her phone buzzed. The sound cut through everything. She answered immediately. "You finally understand the beginning." Zoey's voice was calm now. "Then tell me the rest." A pause. Then, that arrangement was never just about marriage. Zoey's grip tightened. Then what was it about? Silence, the kind that felt intentional, measured. Then, you. Zoey's breath hitched, just slightly. Her fingers tightened around the phone. "What about me?" she demanded. But the voice didn't answer. The line went dead. Zoey lowered the phone slowly. This time, she didn't look confused. She didn't look shaken. She looked different, like something had shifted into place. Not answers, but direction. She turned toward Dae-hyun. "Take me to them." There was no hesitation in her voice now, no uncertainty. Dae-hyun studied her for a second, then nodded. Because this wasn't the same Zoey who had been pulled into that house months ago. This one wasn't reacting, she was deciding, and whatever came next wouldn't be controlled, wouldn't be arranged, wouldn't be chosen for her. This time, she would be the one asking the questions. The estate gates opened without delay. Zoey noticed that. No call, no confirmation, no waiting. "They were expecting us," she said. Dae-hyun didn't deny it. "They've been expecting this since the article went public." The car moved forward. This time, Zoey didn't look at the house the way she had months ago. Back then, it felt imposing, untouchable. Now, it looked like a place that owed her answers. They stepped inside. Catherine Whitmore was already standing in the center of the room, composed, controlled, waiting. Robert stood beside her. Melissa was there too, watching. No one greeted Zoey. No one needed to. "You came," Catherine said. Zoey didn't move further into the room. "You knew I would." A pause. Catherine studied her. Something shifted in her expression. Not warmth. Recognition. "Then you already understand," Catherine said. "No," Zoey replied, "but I'm about to." Silence. Robert stepped forward slightly. "This situation has been mishandled." Zoey let out a quiet breath. "That's one way to describe it." Melissa crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic." Zoey didn't even look at her. "Am I?" That landed. Catherine stepped in. "Let's not turn this into something unnecessary." Zoey's gaze snapped to her. "Unnecessary?" A pause. "You forced me into a marriage without telling me why," Zoey continued. "You replaced your daughter with me like I was an object. Not because I mattered," Zoey added, "but because I was expendable." A brief silence followed. Melissa's expression tightened. "You didn't choose me," Zoey continued. "You used me." "And when everything collapsed?" She looked directly at Catherine. "You didn't protect your daughter." A pause. "You protected the deal." And now someone out there is telling me this was never just about marriage. Her voice didn't rise. So no, she said. This is very necessary. Silence filled the room. Then, Catherine exhaled slowly. You were never supposed to find out like this. Zoe's expression didn't change. Find out what? A glance passed between Catherine and Robert. Dae-hyun stepped forward slightly. Enough, he said. Say it clearly. Catherine looked at him, then back at Zoe. This arrangement, she said slowly, was about restoring balance. Zoe frowned. That doesn't mean anything. It does, Robert said, if you understand where you came from. That hit differently. Zoe's eyes narrowed. I came from you. Silence. Then, no, Catherine said. The word was quiet, but it broke something open. Zoe didn't move. What does that mean? She asked. Catherine held her gaze. For years, we allowed you to believe that your adoption was ordinary. Zoe's chest tightened. It wasn't. The room felt smaller. Robert continued. You weren't placed with us by chance. Zoe shook her head slightly. No, but the doubt was already there. You were selected, Catherine said. Silence. For what? Zoe asked. Catherine didn't answer immediately. Then, for proximity. Zoe's breath caught. Dae-hyun's expression darkened. Proximity to what? Zoe demanded. Robert answered this time. To influence, to access, to position. That still doesn't explain anything, Zoe said sharply. Catherine's voice lowered. It explains everything. A pause. There were interests, she continued, long before you were brought into this family. Zoe's heart pounded. Interests connected to the Kang family. The words settled, heavy. Dae-hyun stepped forward. You're saying this was planned from the beginning? Catherine didn't deny it. We ensured the connection remained possible. Zoe stared at her. You're talking about me like I was placed somewhere. You were, Robert said. Silence. Zoe's hands clenched at her sides. And when Melissa failed, she said slowly, you used me. Catherine didn't respond. That was answer enough. Zoe let out a breath. So everything, she said, my life, my place in this family, even this marriage? She looked between them. It was all positioning. Yes, Catherine said. Melissa finally stepped forward. You're acting like you didn't benefit, she said. Zoe turned to her, slowly. I didn't choose it. You didn't refuse it either, Melissa shot back. That hit, but Zoe didn't flinch. Because I didn't know what I was being used for. Silence. Dae-hyun's voice cut in. This ends now. Catherine looked at him. You don't get to decide that. I do, he said. A pause. Because whatever arrangement you think still exists, he glanced at Zoe. It doesn't. It was never supposed to become real, he added. Zoe's eyes shifted slightly. It was supposed to stay controlled, he continued. But it didn't. A pause. And that's the part none of you planned for. Zoe felt that. Catherine's expression hardened. You're both underestimating the consequences. Zoe stepped forward. No, she said. You're overestimating your control. Silence. Robert's voice lowered. You walk away from this, you lose protection. Zoe met his gaze. I was never protected. That ended it. The room fell completely silent. Zoe turned. Dae-hyun followed, and neither of them looked back.
Outside, the air felt different. Zoey exhaled slowly. Then she noticed it. The cars. A line of black vehicles stationed along the driveway. Her steps slowed, just slightly. Dae-hyun didn't react. "They're here," he said quietly. The first door opened. An older woman stepped out, followed by a man, then others. Presence filled the space, controlled, measured. Zoey's posture straightened, not out of fear, out of awareness. The woman approached, her gaze settled on Zoey. Not dismissive, not welcoming, assessing. A pause. "You handled that well," she said. Zoey didn't respond. The man stepped forward, his voice calm. "You stood your ground." Another pause. "And you didn't break." Silence lingered. The woman spoke again. "This family does not tolerate weakness." A beat. "But we recognize strength." Her eyes held Zoey's. "You are Dae-hyun's wife." A statement. From this moment, a slight shift. From this moment, you are part of this family. No emotion, no softness, but final. No one questioned it, no one objected. Zoey held their gaze for a brief second, then simply nodded. Nothing more was needed. A quiet understanding settled. Then, "That's it?" she asked. "No," Dae-hyun said. She looked at him. "They won't stop," he continued. Zoey nodded once. "I know." A pause, then, "Good." Dae-hyun frowned slightly. Zoey's expression didn't change. "Because neither will I." Her phone buzzed again. Same number. This time. She didn't hesitate. She answered. "I'm ready," she said. A pause, then, "Good," the voice replied. This time, the voice added, "There are no more secrets." Zoey lowered the phone. Dae-hyun was watching her. "What now?" he asked. Zoey looked ahead. "Now," she said, "we finish what they started." Quick pause. If you're enjoying this story, like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Did Zoey make the right choice? Or is something bigger coming?
The meeting didn't happen in secret. Zoey made sure of that. "This is a mistake," Dae-hyun said quietly as she adjusted the microphone clip to her coat. "No," Zoey replied. "This is the first honest thing I've done in a long time." The press room was already full. Journalists, cameras, executives, and more importantly, people who had power. "They'll come," Zoey said. Dae-hyun didn't ask how she knew, because at this point, he trusted her instincts more than anyone else's strategy. Right on cue, the doors opened. Catherine Whitmore walked in first, Robert followed, Melissa behind them. And one more person. Zoey's eyes narrowed slightly. "Stay calm," Dae-hyun murmured. But Zoey wasn't shaken. She was ready. "You invited them?" he asked quietly. "No," Zoey said. "They invited themselves." The room shifted as whispers spread. Cameras turned. Attention sharpened. Zoey stepped forward. "Thank you all for coming," she said. Her voice didn't shake. "I asked for this conference because there are questions about my identity, my marriage, and the families involved." A pause. "Today, those questions get answers." Catherine stepped forward. "This isn't necessary," she said. Zoey didn't look at her. "It is." A screen behind Zoey lit up. Documents appeared, dates, records, contracts. Dae-hyun's team had done their job. But this wasn't just his move. It was hers. "You said I was adopted," Zoey continued. Catherine's expression tightened. "You said it was a chance," Zoey added. She picked up a file. "It wasn't." She held it up. "I was selected." The room erupted in murmurs. Robert stepped forward sharply. "This is being taken out of context." Zoey cut him off. "No." Another file appeared on screen. "Financial transfers tied to adoption agencies. Private agreements. Long-term positioning strategies." Every word landed. Every lie unraveled. "You didn't raise me," Zoey said. "You placed me." Silence hit hard. Then, a voice from the side. "You're still missing the most important part." Every head turned. The man stepped forward, calm, composed. Zoey's grip tightened slightly. "You," she said. Dae-hyun's expression darkened. "Who is that?" he asked. Zoey didn't look away. "The one who's been calling." The man smiled faintly. "Finally," he said. "An introduction." Silence filled the room. "Name," Dae-hyun said sharply. The man looked at him. "You already know it," he replied. Then back to Zoey. "But she doesn't." A pause. "My name is Daniel Seo." The name meant nothing, until... Catherine moved. "Stop this," she said immediately. Too quickly, too urgently. Zoey noticed. "Why?" she asked quietly. Daniel stepped closer. "Because she knows exactly who I am." Catherine's composure cracked. "That's enough." "No," Daniel said calmly. "It's not." He turned to Zoey. "You want the truth?" Zoey didn't hesitate. "Yes." A pause. Then, "I'm the one who arranged your placement." Silence. Not shock, not noise, just stillness. Zoey's voice came out steady. "Why?" Daniel studied her. "Because you were never supposed to disappear." That hit differently. Dae-hyun stepped forward. "Explain." Daniel didn't look at him. "She wasn't random," he said. His gaze stayed on Zoey. "She was removed." The word hung. "From what?" Zoey asked. Daniel exhaled. "From a family that couldn't afford to keep her visible." Catherine snapped. "That's not your story to tell." Daniel didn't react. "It became mine the moment you signed the agreement." Zoey's heart pounded. "Agreement?" she repeated. Daniel nodded. "They didn't just adopt you." A pause. "They were paid to hold you." The room exploded. Voices, questions, cameras flashing. Zoey didn't move. Her world didn't shatter. It aligned. Every missing piece falling into place. "So the marriage," she said slowly, Daniel nodded, "was never about fixing Melissa's failure." Silence. "It was about bringing you back into the system." Dae-hyun's jaw tightened. "What system?" Daniel finally looked at him. "The one your family has been protecting for decades." That landed. Hard. The room shifted again. Now it wasn't just about Zoey. It was bigger. Much bigger. Zoey stepped forward. "Then say it clearly," she said. Daniel held her gaze. "You weren't chosen by accident." A pause. "You were born into something they couldn't control." Zoey's breath slowed. "Then I guess it's time I take it back." Silence, and for the first time, no one in that room looked at her like she was a replacement. They looked at her like she was the center. And this time, she didn't look away. The fallout was immediate, not quiet, not controlled, explosive. By morning, every major outlet had the story. Not speculation anymore. Proof. Headlines spread fast. Whitmore family under investigation. Corporate adoption scheme exposed. Kang-Whitmore alliance tied to hidden network. Zoey stood in the living room, watching it unfold in real time. Screens, notifications, calls. Dae-hyun ended another call, jaw tight. "They've frozen 3 of Whitmore's accounts already," he said. Zoey didn't respond immediately. "And the board?" she asked. "They're asking questions they should have asked years ago." A pause. That's good, Zoey said. Dae-hyun looked at her. You're very calm. Zoey exhaled slowly. I think I'm past shock. Silence. And now? He asked. Zoey turned to him. Now I want it finished. That was all he needed to hear. Across the city, the Whitmore estate was no longer quiet. This is out of control, Robert said, pacing. Catherine stood still. Too still. No, she said. This is contained. Melissa let out a sharp laugh. Contained? She repeated. We're being investigated. Publicly. Catherine didn't look at her. It will pass. Melissa shook her head. No, she said. You're still thinking like you're in control. That made Catherine turn. Watch your tone. Melissa didn't back down. You chose her over me, she said. Silence. You replaced me, Melissa continued, and now everything is falling apart because of it. Catherine's expression hardened. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me, Melissa snapped. Robert stepped in. Enough. But Melissa wasn't done. You built everything on control, she said, and the second something didn't go your way, she laughed again, you lost it. Catherine stepped closer. Be careful. Melissa met her gaze. Or what? Silence. Then, she stepped back. I'm done, Melissa said. That shifted something. Robert frowned. What does that mean? Melissa looked between them. It means I'm not protecting this anymore. Catherine's voice dropped. You don't understand what you're saying. No, Melissa replied. For the first time, I do. Silence filled the room, and just like that, the first crack became a break. Back in Seoul. The Kang board meeting was already in motion. Voices overlapped. Tension filled the room. This is a liability. We were not informed of this connection. This affects investor confidence. Dae-hyun stood at the head of the table, silent, listening. Then, he spoke. This ends today. The room quieted. You're involved, one board member said. Yes, Dae-hyun replied. A pause. And I'm also the one removing the risk. Silence. How? Another asked. Dae-hyun didn't hesitate. By cutting every remaining tie to the Whitmores. That landed. That's not a small move, someone said. It's the only move, Dae-hyun replied. A pause. And your position? The question came. Dae-hyun met their gaze. My position doesn't exist without trust. Silence. So decide, he said. Do you want stability or excuses? No one answered immediately. Because for the first time, he wasn't negotiating. He was setting terms. Later that night, Zoey sat in the studio, the same place everything had started, but this time, she wasn't hiding. Dae-hyun walked in quietly. It's happening, he said. Zoey didn't turn. I know. A pause. Melissa spoke, he added. That made her still. About what? Everything. Zoey turned slowly. She turned on them? Dae-hyun nodded once. She confirmed the arrangement. Silence. Zoey exhaled. That was faster than I expected. Pressure does that, Dae-hyun said. A pause. Are you okay with it? He asked. Zoey thought about it. Then, yes. Another pause. They made their choices, she said, and now I'm making mine. Dae-hyun stepped closer. This isn't over yet. Zoey nodded. I know. Her hand moved instinctively to her stomach. Small, subtle, but real. And we finish it, she said. Dae-hyun followed her gaze. Something in his expression softened. Not strategy, not calculation. Something else. We will, he said. Silence settled between them. Not heavy, steady. Then, Zoey looked up. What happens after this? Dae-hyun didn't answer immediately, because for once, The future wasn't structured. It wasn't planned. It wasn't decided by anyone else. "It's ours," he said finally. Zoey nodded, and for the first time, that didn't feel uncertain. It felt real. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. A message from an unknown number. Not a call this time, just words. "It's done. They can't hide anymore." Zoey stared at it, then locked her phone. No fear, no hesitation, just clarity. "Good," she said. Dae-hyun watched her. "What now?" he asked. Zoey looked around the studio, at the unfinished canvas, at the life she had started building, then back at him. "Now," she said, "we live." And outside, the last pieces of control began to fall. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was earned. For the first time, there were no calls, no threats, no hidden pressure waiting to surface. The investigations moved fast, faster than anyone expected. Evidence stacked, statements confirmed, records exposed. The Whitmores didn't fall quietly, but they fell completely. Catherine Whitmore resigned before she was forced to. Robert followed days later, not out of choice, but because there was nothing left to protect. Melissa's testimony sealed it. Every detail, every decision, every moment they thought would stay hidden. Gone. Zoey didn't watch it unfold on screens this time. She didn't need to. She felt it, in the silence, in the absence of pressure, in the way her phone stopped being something she braced herself to answer, in the way she could finally breathe, without waiting for something to be taken. The Kang board stabilized quickly. Dae-hyun's decision, cutting ties completely, did what it needed to do. Trust returned, not instantly, but steadily. And for once, it wasn't built on strategy, it was built on clarity. Weeks passed, then months. Seoul changed with the seasons, and so did they. Zoey stood in her studio again, but it didn't feel like escape anymore. It felt like home. Her work had evolved, stronger, bolder, unapologetic. No hidden meaning, no restraint, just truth. Dae-hyun leaned against the doorway, watching her. "You've been standing there for 5 minutes," Zoey said without turning. "I'm observing." She smiled slightly. "That still sounds strange." "It's accurate," he replied. She set her brush down slowly. "You used to say that like everything was a calculation." "And now?" he asked. Zoey turned. "Now it sounds like you actually mean it." A pause. Dae-hyun stepped closer. "I do." Silence settled between them, not uncertain, steady, real. Zoey's hand rested lightly on her stomach. It was no longer subtle. It was visible, undeniable. Dae-hyun followed her movement. "You should be resting," he said. Zoey raised a brow. "I am resting." "That's not what that looks like." She smiled. "It is for me." A pause. Then, "Are you nervous?" she asked. Dae-hyun didn't answer immediately. Then, "Yes." That made her laugh softly. "You?" "Yes." Another pause. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. Zoey stepped closer. "You don't have to know." He looked at her. "You just have to be there." Silence. Then, "I can do that," he said. "I know," she replied. Time moved forward. Not rushed, not forced, natural. The day came quietly. No chaos, no pressure, just a moment that belonged to them. Dae-hyun didn't leave her side, not once. And when their child finally cried, sharp, alive, real, everything shifted again. Zoey held the baby carefully, not fragile, certain. Dae-hyun stood beside her, silent. For once, he had nothing to say. Zoey looked up at him. "You're quiet." He exhaled slowly. "I'm thinking." "About what?" she asked. A pause. "How everything almost went differently." Zoey nodded. "But it didn't." Silence. Dae-hyun looked at her, then at the child. "No," he said, "it didn't." And that was enough. Months later, life didn't slow down, it just settled. Zoe's exhibitions expanded internationally, not because of connections, because of her work. Her name stood on its own, no attachments, no conditions, just hers. Dae-hyun led his company differently, less control, more intention. Not what was expected of him, but what he chose. And this time, no one questioned it, because he wasn't proving anything anymore. He was building something. At home, there were no contracts, no expectations, just quiet mornings, late nights, small moments that didn't need to be anything more. Zoey stood by the window one evening, the same skyline, the same city, but everything felt different. Dae-hyun walked up beside her. "You're thinking again," he said. She smiled faintly. "Not like before." A pause. "Then how?" he asked. Zoey looked at him, like someone who finally knows where she stands. Silence. Then, she added, "And where she's going?" Dae-hyun nodded. No questions, no doubt, just understanding. Behind them, their child stirred softly, a small sound, but enough. Zoey turned first. Dae-hyun followed, and just like that, the world outside didn't matter. Not the past, not the power, not the systems that once tried to define them, because they had already stepped out of it. Completely. Together. No contracts, no replacements, no control. Just choice. And this time, nothing was going to take that away from them. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.